All right, Rob, let's go to the NFL. Last night we watched. They've had a lot of primetime games. Everybody's talked about the Thursday night NFL games that have been bad. Last night, it ended up being close, so that was good. But the Chargers and the Broncos, two teams that I and many people thought would be, Rob, among the best in the league, and the Chargers are 4-2 somehow. They don't look great.
But they don't look good. Yeah,
no, they don't look very good at all. But they're 4-2. But the Broncos 2-4, lost 3 straight now. Last night 19-16 in overtime. I mean, that's how low scoring it was. And the Chargers don't have a great defense. The Broncos do, but the Chargers don't. And Russell Wilson, Rob, I mean, if this continues, this is one of the most stunning falls from grace in recent memory. I mean, we talk about Peyton Manning the year before he fell off. They ended up winning the Super Bowl when he was in, his worst season at the end of his career last year. But the year before, Rob, he had put up some good numbers, really nice numbers. And it just hit him quickly. But Peyton Manning was 39 years old. Russell Wilson is 33. He'll be 34 in November, but he's 33 right now, Rob. No one, least of all, the Denver Broncos, who gave him that huge contract a few weeks ago, expected him to perform this poorly. And look, he's a bit banged up, the shoulder, now hamstring. He's in a new system. His coach is a rookie coach who's having his own struggles.
Remember, they had to hire somebody after week 1. Wasn't it? They had to hire somebody to help
manage the games. Yeah. So it's not ideal. Lost, Tim Patrick, the receivers, out. But still, this is worse than I think even his biggest distractors could have predicted for Russell Wilson. And do you think, I asked Ephraim Salam this, do you think he's washed?
Chris, he had 15. He started out the game 10 for 10, correct? Passing the ball.
That was by far his best quarter of the season.
Right.
10 for 10, and they led him on 2 scoring drives. They were up 10-0.
And then, Chris, he went to throw for 15 yards.
That's almost like Chris, you wouldn't believe it.
He threw for 15 yards after that? Isn't that what the number was? Am I misrepresenting it?
No, 15. No. The second quarter he was,
or is the second half
not as bad, but yeah, second half and overtime he had 15 yards.
15
he had 175
passing yards
or something like that in the first half.
It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. And people in Seattle have been murmuring about this for a while, Chris. We saw him the 2020 season, pandemic, when he was throwing for all those yards. Remember, after week 6, he was the MVP.
Yeah,
remember all that?
He was.
It was cooking, but they weren't winning. I'm worried about him, Chris. I want to say that I don't believe he's going to return to that form. I mean, I get there's a new coach. You're trying to get comfortable, but what I'm watching doesn't make – I get it. You're trying to figure out a new system. He doesn't look the same to me. And I can't put my finger on what's different or whatever, but he doesn't look like the Russell Wilson who was going to the Super Bowls, who was with he looks like somebody different. And you just said it. He's not old, Chris.
No.
And they just signed him to a big contract for a lot of years and a lot of money.
How much was it? Was it $245? It wasn't all guaranteed, but was it I think $165 was guaranteed. I think it was $235 for 5 years, but $165 guaranteed. Rob G, let us know the exact numbers. But look, Rob, and I like Russ.
But Chris, you're watching what I'm watching.
He looks god awful. I mean,
awful.
He looks darn near like freaking Justin Fields. I mean, not quite that bad, but he looks bad. He looks like a bottom 6 quarterback. It's been bad. So Rob G, what is the contract?
5 years, $245 million, including $165 million guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah, so that's 235 you said, or
245.
245, right. If this and Nick Wright is just drilling this on First Things First, because I kind of stand up for Russ on that show, but Rob, if he doesn't improve, and it's not at this point, it's not even about getting back to what he was. It's about getting back to being like an above average starting quarterback, like being a franchise quarterback again. I mean, I think they would take that. You'd hate to have given him that money, but at this point, he don't even look like that. Now, look, they're throwing a lot of short passes, which I don't know that he was used to in Seattle. He's not throwing deep as much. But it's a new system. I mean, I get all that. You're not comfortable. But this is atrocious. And if it does continue, Rob, it'll go down as a horrific trade for the Denver Broncos. And
well, let me say this. We heard people from Seattle going like, well, we've been watching them a little closer than you guys have. Like, I remember that. Don't you remember people were like, yeah, you guys all think
I thought he was good. I mean, at the end of last year, 25. He ended with, I think, 25 touchdowns, 6 picks, which are, obviously good numbers. Remember, the last, 4 or 5 games, he was really strong. And so it looked like he was, playing fine. But this is bad. And here's what I'll say, Rob. I mean, we've always referred to him, the last few years as a future Hall of Famer. Is it possible? Could he play his way out of that? I mean, if he continues to play like this, or maybe just a little better for the next 2 or 3 years, I think it is, actually.
He's got to do a little bit more. They did win. He went to 2, Chris, which is great, right? He went to 2. Did throw that game-losing pick in the second one. But I don't think he could just fall off the map. You remember?
No, I agree.
You even talked about, okay, Stafford has all those numbers. Stafford won the Super Bowl, Chris. Remember you said he's got to play well and this year, right away, ain't nobody thinking about Matthew Stafford right now. Am I right? In the Hall of Fame.
And look, Wilson's been better than Stafford.
No, I know. I'm
career.
just saying, but numbers-wise, how you look.
Right. The thing Wilson...
Stafford has to build, and so does Wilson still have to keep building is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Wilson, if he retired today or something like that, he'd be a Hall of Famer. He's a 9-time Pro Bowl. And, Rob, that might save him even if he continues to struggle. That he's a 9-time Pro Bowler. But the Pro Bowl, and I respect the Pro Bowl, but, we know that, Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl. Right, the All-Pro. And he's probably never, I don't think Russ has ever been All-Pro, which is, look, Brady was only first-team All-Pro 3 times, I think.
Right. It's hard because it's hard.
It's one spot. Or maybe, 2?
It's 3.
But first team is what people look at.
Right. It's first team. And then you remember, because remember the year was Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Kyler Murray. You remember those were the 3, Chris? Quarterback.
Yeah, and Brady's been All-Pro. Now, Pro Football Reference only lists when you were first team.
Right,
Brady's first team All-Pro 3 times. So it's hard.
Can you look it up real quick? How many times has Aaron Rodgers been first time?
I'm going to guess.
I'm going to say 5.
I'm going to guess 4.
Because he's won 4 MVPs, right?
4 time
Okay.
All-Pro. Yeah,
it's
he's
hard.
won, I think, 4 MVPs.
No, 4.
You're right. So those were probably the years, where he was All-Pro. But no, it's difficult. Absolutely. And isn't that interesting that the GOAT, who most people think of as the GOAT, was only 3-time All-Pro. So,